on where you are moving from, you may or may not be familiar with what it's like to live within an HOA community. And I myself have heard some pretty big, bad nightmare stories of some crazy HOAs in the Northeast and also in Texas. Let me tell you guys, it's not all that bad if you're not a rule breaker.
Danger is my business.
If you are someone that really loves your space, you want to have your right to carry arms, if you want to not be able to see your neighbor from afar, then you're right. You probably don't want to be part of an HOA. And I'll tell you, there are some absolutely gorgeous rural properties. You're not really going to find those kind of properties inside what I might call Phoenix proper. So for the sake of the video, let's just talk about everything that has been built in the greater Phoenix area from the 90s forward, because that's predominantly when we started to see the HOAs come to the Phoenix area. So a lot of this comes from also diversifying some of the costs that the cities used to be burdened with when these home communities were being built. And so they passed this on to the HOA. Now, the HOA also is there to protect the community, not to make your life more difficult. But if you are a rule breaker, if you don't take care of your property, and unfortunately, this is also why people don't like living in communities with a high renter capacity. And again, here's why it's a good reason to live in an HOA, because there is control over that. So let's break down the top problems that people, they're like, I don't want an HOA. And we talk through it. Now, the first one I would say is if you are someone that runs your business from home, this might be a problem. If you are a hairdresser that likes to run your business from home, if you are a mechanic that likes to run your business from home, if you're any kind of like auto paint or cabinet paint or anything that might be disruptive, that might just make things a little messier or noisier for the neighbors, this is going to be a problem. There is specifically in almost every single HOA, there is going to be a form of this clause, and it basically says that the use of this single family home is for residential purposes only. Now, there's going to be a different verbiage, and so if this is important to you, you got to let us know. We can get some of the information, some of the questions answered before you go under contract. But in addition to that, part of when you buy a property is you will receive a copy of the CC&Rs. That stands for Covenant, Conditions, and Restrictions. Those are basically the rules. And when you receive the rules, you have 5 days from receipt to review them. And if there's something you don't agree with or you're not comfortable with and you don't want to buy a home in that community, you can cancel and get your earnest money back. If you know up front that this is important to you, you got to let us know so that we can kind of help navigate. There are some HOAs that are a little bit more lenient than others. And then you have to decide if you're okay with that, because if you need that leniency, what's the neighborhood already look like, right? Okay, so that's the first one, because a lot of people are entrepreneurs. I myself, real estate agent, work from home. Do you think that really applies to me? No, because I'm not burdening the neighborhood. I don't have clients that come and meet my house. I don't cause a ruckus. I don't make any additional noise. Nobody knows except for the fact that I'm home all day. Well, not all day, but you get my point. The next thing I have to say, and we get this all the time, if there is an RV fence gate, then how come I can't park an RV there? Or can I park an RV there? Or Sheryl, I'm looking for a home that has an RV gate because I have an RV that I want to park on the side of my house. Well, I have to say that's a little misleading, and I apologize on behalf of the hundreds of thousands, actually millions of realtors throughout the United States.
I'm sorry.
I have no idea why we all kind of like refer back to it as an RV gate. Maybe because it's the width of an RV gate, 12 feet wide. But there's also larger ones and smaller ones, but that still doesn't mean that you can park an RV there.
Inconceivable.
I know. And when you look at the detail of this provision and this one particular CC&R, they've made sure that they have absolutely covered every single possible way you could possibly call a trailer, a manufactured thing that's on wheels, that's going to be above the fence line, and it's going to be too wide to fit. Do you see my point? They have covered their butt. Now, here's the thing. There are a lot of people that own trailers and even boats that are here. Believe it or not, there are more boats registered here than almost any other state in the greater than America. Isn't that weird? Like, how is there not more boats registered in Florida? Well, because most of the people that sail in their beautiful boats to Florida, they don't actually call Florida home. But anyways, there is a lot of boat vessels in the Arizona state that are registered and they can't be kept on property. Now, I used to have 2 Sea-Doos that even on the trailer could fit behind my gate and nobody could see them. So is that okay? Yeah, it is. So there are some exceptions. And if this is important to you, you got to let us know. If you have an RV, a big one, a nice one, I want to be your friend. I'm just kidding. If you have a large RV, you're going to want to find one of the many storage places in the greater Phoenix area. I'm telling you, everywhere you look, we have rental, storage, RV, boat parking everywhere. It's like everybody moves here with extra stuff, and it's actually sometimes hard to find a good location depending on where you are buying a home. So if that's important to you, let's talk about it. When we talk about finding you the right home, we want to be in an area where you might be able to have the close storage. Let me tell you, having a convenient RV or boat when you're getting ready to go out of town makes a lot of difference. So we used to pull our boat out. We'd have it in dry storage because it was too big to park on the side of my home. And we were allowed to park it in front of the house for up to 48 hours period. And we were allowed to do that 4 times within a 30-day period. So there are some Karens that live in neighborhoods, almost all neighborhoods, and they're going to police you. And that's really all it takes. Now, here's the thing. You might go to look at homes and you see a trailer on the street or, behind the house, and you're like, I'm going to make the assumption if they're okay with it, then I'll be able to. Don't forget the HOA can start to enforce rules even if they haven't been enforcing them at any time. So we want to make sure if this is important to you guys, you have to let us know. We'll guide you to some of the few HOAs that do allow RV parking on the side of their home. They do exist. They're going to be in the more rural areas, but that doesn't mean like way out. They're going to be in just the areas where people want a little bit more space for all their toys. Here's another great idea. RV garage. They're all over the valley now. They're not as unique. They're not just $1 million homes. There are some great alternatives in some of the very affordable areas. You just got to give us a call if that is important to you. Now, here's when people don't think about, well, I guess if you're the homeowner, you're annoyed, but I'm a dog walker twice a day with my boy Levi. And let me tell you, I hate when bushes and trees are encroaching, that's the word, encroaching on my sidewalk. In fact, I have a little scar right there. That is from a bougainvillea, and Levi was running, and back in the day when I was running on the sidewalk, and I got scratched, and it was bleeding, and believe it or not, I got a little scar there. Because somebody didn't trim back their darn bush. So let me tell you, I walk around the block now with my little scissors. I'm just kidding. I'm not a Karen. I'm not a Debbie either. Needless to say, the HOA, if there is a tree that is obstructing public space, the HOA will send a notice, pre-violation. Hey, by the way, we were driving by your house and we noticed that your bush is overextending into the sidewalk. And you have 10 days to remedy it. And yeah, they really do go out and fix it. Now, if you don't do that, here's what just to let you know, because sometimes people are like, I've reported this 3 times and they haven't done anything. That's not necessarily the case. So it's nice to have like a local little policing if something isn't going right. If you let them know, they'll go out and double check it. And they'll send that notice. You have 10 days to fix. And then if they don't fix it, probably 2 weeks later, they'll say, okay, we're going to usually give you a second notice. Here's a violation fine. It's coming if you don't have it fixed. And then by the 3rd time, if there is a 3rd notice, they're going to get a fine. And it's usually only about $50, $70 maybe at the most, just to piss off the homeowner enough that hopefully they get off their butt to get that remedied.
You can do it!
The problem is this: if the homeowner doesn't get it fixed, they already know the worst thing's already happened. They got a $70 fine.
I'm not scared.
The problem is if they start accumulating those fines and it continues to build and it can gain interest-bearing account, well, I don't even know what the right terminology is, but let it go long enough, it can turn into a lien on your home and foreclosure. as crazy as that sounds. So you want to make sure you take care of anything taking, little like that, because who wants to lose their house to an HOA lien? Now, here's another thing on encroachments. Encroachments also, this is a problem, this is real. The new vehicles today, especially trucks, are much longer than they used to be once upon a time. And the driveways in some neighborhoods, new or old, are short. So if this is important to you, you got to let us know. Let me tell you, we've gone out and looked at homes with our clients, and we bring our trusted tape measure, and we make sure that that driveway is long enough so that they can at least park in the driveway if they can't park in the garage. Which that's another thing. Why does everybody not park in the garage? They put junk on a higher priority level than the $100,000 truck they got sitting in the driveway. I don't understand that. I don't understand that.
I don't get it.
Now, here's another thing at the HOA. If you're buying a home and you are on a corner lot, you are going to be tasked with the maintenance of that wall, even though it benefits the community, not just you. Now, it's a reflection of your home, so you would think that the HOA would take care of it and it would always be beautiful. And then after 10 years, 12 years, if all of a sudden you get a letter from the HOA that says you have to fix it, you're like, huh? Well, yeah, a lot of people don't know that. So you want to make sure when you're buying a corner lot that you understand what that level of commitment is. Usually it is maintenance and paint. And in some cases, it's even the landscaping that might be on that side of the wall. Lots of little things to think about, right? Now, there's some things that are evolving and changing. And that's going to be a couple of important things. The first one is going to be solar panels. Again, in the 90s, we didn't see a lot of solar panels. So there wasn't a lot that was covered in the HOA CCNRs. And then as they came into play and the HOAs were restricting them, they were like, this isn't right. And so CCNRs can change. This takes the community, the residents of that community to come together and be a part of the HOA. And I'll tell you, that is the hardest part. Nobody wants to be a part of the HOA board. I'm telling you, I tried it myself. I saw some things that I wasn't in agreement with. So I started showing up in a very short time because I was like, oh, I'm totally into this. And if you know me, I take all kinds of notes and I'm there and keeping tabs and everything. And then I'm like, I'm going to do this. And then when I saw how patient I needed to be to make changes, I was like, I can't handle this. Like the stress level was killing me. So all I got to say is this: either you have to be patient if you want to see change, or you have to attend the HOA meetings. Sometimes they are monthly and sometimes they are quarterly. I think every homeowner should go to at least a couple of them a year so they can have a better understanding. You'll appreciate what they can do for you. And again, in many ways, use it to your advantage. So again, the solar panels weren't in CCNRs, now they are. And typically when you get solar panels added, you have to submit what they call an architectural committee form. You're basically just going before the architectural committee and you say, I'm going to be adding these. This is what it's going to look like. Can I have your approval? I know some people are like, I don't want to ask for approval. This is my house. But they're also going to make sure that you're not next door to a guy that has panels and he did it himself. And it just looks like it's atrocious. I've seen one, I don't know how this happened, but the installation company put this massive maze on the side of their home. It was ugly. And the HOA actually stepped in and helped the homeowner get a better product on that home and get out of their contract. So again, sometimes HOAs are a help. The other thing I want to say is just because something is an HOA, don't rest assured that it's never going to change, good or bad. And what I mean by that is this: leasing restrictions. So let's talk about Airbnb. People love staying in nice neighborhoods when they're in Airbnb, but people that live in nice neighborhoods don't want Airbnb, right? So I guess it really depends on what side of the fence you're on. And that's why also many parts of Scottsdale that do not have HOA are riddled. I mean, riddled with Airbnbs, and they can be very obnoxious. And these homeowners are making it miserable for the Airbnb guests. And then they're also making it difficult for the property owner, and the property owners are like, I'm out. I'm totally out because they've caused so many problems. And then the visitors get upset, and then they give them a bad rating. And then, anyways, you see my point. Airbnbs are not like, so living in an HOA helps contain that. So there are some places that used to not have leasing restrictions. And then they started adding, okay, we'll add a minimum of 30 days. And then they were realizing that people were getting month-long Airbnbs. So now there are many that are 90 days, which is a good thing, right? And there's even some communities that forbid any less than 12 months, believe it or not. So even if an HOA is not enforced, if that rule is not enforced when you buy, just be careful, because if you're really planning on doing a short-term rental or an Airbnb, then you might get stopped in your tracks and you've already made the financial investment. Now, here's the other thing. A lot of people don't understand why Arizona has so many brown. So obviously, when you're looking at the desert landscape, it's mostly brown. Now, believe it or not, we have a lot of green. There's a lot of green in our brown desert. But for housing, you wouldn't want the two choices, brown and green. And some people are like, yeah, well, what about the other colors? Why? Let me tell you why. First of all, when you have natural colors, you will actually see the aesthetics and the beautiful parts of desert. If you have a beautiful mountain in your background and you have a green home with a blue door and a red something else, that kind of ruins your view. You want housing to kind of blend in, and that's why. Now, here's the other thing. When you start going the darker colors, we started to go darker brown, and then people that lived here realized dark colors generate more heat, and white homes generate more blindness, shine. And it's very interesting, again, living in the desert, how color and landscape plays such a huge part of feeling. So with the HOAs, we've actually seen a couple of things. Number one, they have definitely changed a lot of their requirements for landscaping. They used to require like certain amount of trees and a certain amount of bushes, and they were really hard on homeowners to maintain these. But they've, again, changed their HOA rules so that a lot of people can do very minimal landscaping. Not only does it cut down on water usage, but also cost for the homeowner. And also they've allowed the paint colors to change. So again, once that was only the tan and the brown, there's a lot more choices that you can get. And if you buy into an HOA that you don't love your home color and they don't have a home color palette that you like, you just go to the HOA board and you start talking about, let's add some more modern colors. I'm telling you, the HOAs have been very open to change over the last probably 10 years. I've seen more people change, more HOAs change their rules and have amendments to the CC&R. So just because you see something doesn't mean that it's always going to be that way. And you are always going to be held accountable in an HOA to have your yard looking top notch. Look, when you're buying a home, I don't care if it's at $300,000 or $3 million, you want to know that the aesthetics of the neighborhood and the quality of your neighborhood and the market values continue at the best possible rate. And you want your community to look nice. Living in an area that has no HOA has its benefits too. If you want to be able to add on an extension, if you want to add on a second level, and all you want to have to deal with is the city, then you want to live in an area that doesn't have an HOA. But if you are looking for a little bit of a controlled quality, you might want to reconsider HOA. So let me talk about the cost now. Cost for HOA, you have to weigh out the pros and cons. Now, I'm only talking about single family homes at this juncture now. Condominiums and townhomes are completely different. They offer a lot more amenities, and they also are a lot more expensive because there's more insurance and landscape maintenance, etc. So we're going to talk specifically about master plan communities. We're also going to talk about subdivisions. So what is the difference? A master plan community is usually a ginormous community consisting of a lot of different subdivisions. So for instance, one of the biggest ones in the greater Phoenix area is called Eastmark. Eastmark probably has 20 different builders and probably 30 something different neighborhoods. Lascendis is another one. Lascendis has over 38 different neighborhoods, and each one of them is gated. but they all belong to Lacendas. So let's talk about what that means. So when you look at a master plan community, I would recommend that you do a lot more research than just HOA. What you want to ask, is it an HOA with a CFD? Okay, get ready, get your pen and paper out, because you want to know all these acronyms. Okay, HOA, Homeowners Association, CFD, Community Facilities District. What is a CFD and how does this affect you? In my opinion, it affects you more than an HOA. HOA, you are going to see the benefits. A CFD, they're there, but you kind of assumed somebody else paid for them. But you know what? They stuck it to you. So let's talk about that. Here's a big master plan community. It's called Marley Park. It is in Surprise. It's one of my favorite communities in Surprise. And Marley Park has a moderate HOA of only $138 a month, but you get a lot for $138. Well, we have all kinds of community amenities. Community amenities, whether it's Marley Park or any other ones, some of the added benefits are going to be things like a lake, so a walking lake, a waterfall lake. You also have fishing lakes, catch and release. You have walking trails, you have biking trails, you have tot lots, you have playgrounds, you have fitness centers. Believe it or not, there's a couple of HOAs that have fitness centers, not much, not many. You have community pools, you have kid pools, you have adult pools, you have splash pads, you have tennis courts, you have pickleball courts, you have dog parks, you have grassy areas, those are retention basins. You also have clubhouses, you have farms or gardens, you have a yacht club. There are all kinds of different types of HOAs and different HOA amenities. You have to look at each one and see which one you're going to benefit the most with. 55 plus communities typically have much larger HOAs, but much lower property taxes. They have larger HOAs because on top of almost everything that I just mentioned there, they might also have discount on golf courses, as most 55 plus communities have golf courses, and they also have all kinds of community events. So they have community rooms and activities that somebody needs to pay for the organization. So the CFD, here's the difference, guys. Once upon a time, the city used to take care of everything. And then HOAs came in. Well, the cities maybe came up with the HOA and they thought, you know what, how about if each homeowner pays a little bit every single month and they maintain a lot of the beautification in their community, like the retention areas, like the trees and the landscaping in those areas, maybe a gated community, maybe additional parks, etc. The city didn't want to pay for it anymore, so the HOAs picked that up. And then I don't know when it started, but I started noticing it here about 20 years ago, but it was kind of quiet. And so the cities again passed this on, like, we need more services. If they're going to be bringing in 5,000 homes, which means potentially another, 15 to 20,000 people, we need more schools, we need more roads, we need new curbs, we need new lighting, we need all this stuff, and the city didn't want to be burdened with it. So the builders were going to have to pay for it. And it was always kind of built into the home price. But they came up with an idea, let's take out some bonds and we will have other people invest in our community. They get a good return. And then what we'll do to pay it back is we'll add that on the property taxes. And here's the crazy thing. There's no website that you can just go on. Now, yeah, you can go to like City of Buckeye, and I believe you can type in City of Buckeye CFDs, and then you can see where the CFDs are. But then it's still hard to find out what that rate kind of equates to, and also if it's perpetual or if it ends. So be very careful, guys. It's not just about buying a house. This is why also you have to call a relocation expert like us so that we can help navigate if you are really trying to crack down on the overall cost to own a home. So again, here is Marley Park. Super high demand, love it. On top of the $138 a month HOA, when you buy into the community, there is an additional chunk, called the capital improvement fee. That's going to be paid up front, only a one-time fee. It's at 0.25% of the sales price. So at a $500,000 home, that's an additional $1,250. Ka-ching, that goes to the HOA. Now here's the other thing. You're paying that $138 a month. You paid that $1,250 in that scenario. And now you're paying inflated taxes of $2,400 a month for that same $500,000. Not $2,400 a month.
What you talking about, Willis?
$2,400 a year. I know some of you are like, a year? Oh my gosh, that's so cheap. But it's inflated. Let's pick another community in Surprise just to have something to compare it to. This is another, just a little community. You've probably never heard of it. I don't think any YouTuber has done a video on this subdivision. It's called Desert Oasis. It's about the same age as Marley Park. It's just kind of, I mean, if you ask me, most of the homes that were built 20 years ago in Surprise are just kind of like that. Like, I don't super duper love any area in Surprise other than Marley Park. It was built 20 years ago. This other community called Desert Oasis, again, no fancy home, has actually 2 HOAs. And again, when you're looking on Redfin, by the way, and Zillow and all that, it doesn't show you both HOAs. So again, that's why you got to give us a call. Not all the information is online, but that particular HOA has 2 HOAs. The first one's $84 a month. The other one is equivalent to $16 a month. It's paid on an annual basis, though. Blah, 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 right? So it's going to be $100 a month. Their capital improvement fee is only $48. I think we can all handle that. And the property taxes, are you ready? This is the same price, $1,244 a year. So your taxes in Marley Park are almost double. People don't realize that. Here's another comparison. In the city of Chandler, there is an amazing community called Layton Lakes. It actually kind of, one half of it's in Chandler and one half of it's in Gilbert. It is absolutely stunningly beautiful. There's all kinds of common area amenities, not to mention even a river through the community. There's also a gated community part. There's a community pool. Like, there's a lot of benefits, but guess what, guys? It's only $103 a month. The HOA. Because there's more homes. And so it's divided equally. There's no capital improvement fee at the time of this video. And the property taxes, are you ready? $1,377 for the year. So you're focusing on just the purchase price, maybe looking at HOA, but you're not taking the totality, the total picture of what the cost will be. You might prefer Chandler over Surprise, but you think you can't afford it because you're only focusing on that purchase price, not the total picture. And then here, you think that's inexpensive? How about Anderson Springs in Chandler? Top-notch school district, older homes, much older homes, like built in the 80s, no HOA, and it's only $1,700 a year in taxes. So when you look at $500,000, it's not just $500,000. That's why you got to give us a call so that we can help you evaluate what the total cost is. Now, back to the HOA thing. Here's the thing. I'm a rule follower. True and true. Let me tell you, I went camping at the bottom of Grand Canyon, and me and my girlfriends, we all had our one-man tents. And I was like, oh yay, we're only like across the river from the little outhouse thing that they had. And they said, why are you paying attention to where the outhouse is? You can just go behind the bushes. And I was like, oh no, I'm a rule follower. I'm not going in the bushes. And let me tell you, that only lasted about 4 hours when I was going, okay, guys, this is my area.
You're an animal.
I quickly learned the benefit of breaking rules. Needless to say, with HOA, if you care about your property and you take good care of your home, you are going to appreciate living in an HOA community, hands down. If you are someone, like I said, that needs that a little extra space, like maybe a half acre, 3/4 of an acre, you want the right to bear arms, you don't want anybody crossing over that property line, there are also homes for you here too. There's a lot of different choices. You just got to give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. Days, nights, or weekends, we got your back when moving to Phoenix, Arizona. I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear what you would love to hear or see on video. This was requested by one of our amazing followers, so thank you for the idea. If you have the question, someone else does. Hopefully I've answered all your questions, guys. Talk to you soon. Can't wait to hear from you. Bye.